Today is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. This is Quick Start from CBN News. I'm Dan Andros. Israel launches precision attacks on Hamas in Qatar. We'll have that top story and more on today's podcast, where we bring you news from a Christian perspective. Subscribe and leave a rating. If you haven't done so already, it's very important. It helps us a lot. Get noticed by other folks as well. Make sure you're doing that on your podcast platform of choice, wherever you're listening to this. Subscribe, leave a rating, put a comment in there. We'd appreciate that. You can email us as well, quickstartpodcast@cbn.org, right to our inbox. Joining me now to get through the news of the day, CBN's Trey Goins-Phillips. And a lot to get to. Trey, on the focus story, the feds are once again going after Pornhub.
Yeah, so the Federal Trade Commission in the state of Utah have set their targets on the owner of Pornhub. So we'll talk about this latest ruling from the government.
All right. Details on that coming up in just a second. On the main thing, President Trump has delivered what he calls his final warning to Hamas, especially interesting given what just happened in Qatar. So we'll get a look at that coming up on the main thing. And more stories that we're getting to today are all beginning in 30 seconds.
My papa says the Messiah isn't real. He's just a story.
So what do you believe?
From the Salvation Poem Project comes Light of the World.
I really liked that movie.
You're really going to want your fam to see this. It's Jesus' life, so clear and so fun.
I want to see it again.
See the hand-drawn animated film everyone's talking about.
He's the king of all kings!
He's nothing.
He is the light of the world.
Light of the World. Now playing in theaters. Rated PG.
And we'll get to the news now in 90 seconds. Explosions rocked Doha, Qatar, after Israel launched a rare overseas strike targeting top Hamas leaders. Israel's military said the men were directly tied to the October 7th massacre and have been running Hamas operations ever since. Officials stressed the use of precision munitions to limit civilian casualties. Benjamin Netanyahu declared the mission was entirely Israeli-initiated, conducted, and owned by Israel, with the U.S. notified in advance. Qatar blasted the strike as quote-unquote cowardly, calling it a flagrant violation of international law and a direct threat to its residents' safety. Israel's ambassador to the UN praised the mission, vowing, "There is no hiding place for terrorists. We will pursue them everywhere." You can check out our live stream on this from yesterday on the CBN News YouTube channel. Get insight from CBN's Chris Mitchell and George Thomas. And the Phillies Karen saga keeps growing after video went viral of a woman berating a father and snatching a home run ball from his 10-year-old son during a game last week in Miami. The boy was celebrating his 10th birthday there, but now a memorabilia store, Blowout Cards, is offering $5,000 to the mystery fan to get the ball back, but only if she signs the ball with an "I'm sorry" inscription so it can be given back to the boy. Those are just some of today's top headlines. You can check out more stories over at cbnnews.com. And this is obviously a nice PR move here by Blowout Cards, just trying to kind of get into the mix, because this story, I happen to be watching this game with my sons. I live in the Philadelphia area, and so they're Phillies fans. And they were watching this game, and the home run comes, and my boys are celebrating. And I'm watching, and I see the interaction. Now, you don't know exactly what happened. I could just see this fan getting in his face, and I'm like, this is going to go viral. I knew it right away, but even though I didn't know what happened. But it did go viral, and it's actually gone way more viral than I thought. It's like the story that never dies. And I think part of it is because this woman has not actually been identified yet as of the taping of this podcast. She's not been identified. She was misidentified one time, and this poor other woman had to be like, no, that's not me. I'm a Red Sox fan. And so, man, this story is just so crazy, Trey. I just don't understand what... Actually, I think I do understand it. Let me give you a theory here, Trey, and I'll let you respond to this. I don't know this woman at all. Nobody does. But given the way culture today promotes this sort of feminist brand of I am woman, hear me roar, the patriarchy's keeping me down, don't let a man tell you what to do. yada, yada, yada. This, every bit of this sort of worldview, this secular worldview that promotes the self and stand up, don't let anybody push you around, all this stuff, I think just spilled out into that. And to me, I think it grades directly against the Christian worldview, which is just, how am I going to treat my neighbor nicely? How can I treat my neighbor as I would want to be treated? And so not that Christians are perfect, right? They're going to make mistakes too, but at least our worldview, when we reset and we're doing it properly, we're looking outward, not inward. And I think what you saw was, and I don't know, probably not. I don't even know if this guy's a Christian or not, judging from the interview that I've heard. It doesn't sound like it, but you never know. But he made the choice to just say, you know what? I don't want to deal with this over a ball. Here, take the ball. And I feel like that's more of the reaction. I don't know if I would have given up the ball because it looked like he got it fair and square on a scrum at the game, like happens on a million foul balls or home runs every game. And so it just seemed just utterly ridiculous that this woman would do that, would act in that way over a $5 baseball or whatever they call it. It's not much, right? It's just, why? Why would you do that? She didn't have a kid there. It's just crazy to me, but I think that worldview has something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go so far as to say that it's like a result of like feminism run amok. I mean, it could be, right? I think that there certainly is some toxicity to the feminist and progressive ideologies that we have, but I think a lot of it just goes back to the larger point you're making, which is the sinfulness of humanity and this self-love, self-centered ideology that all of us, whether you're a man or woman or any of the other 47 identities that you can have in 2025, it doesn't matter. I think that it is just like self-care, self-love. It's all about me. I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to do what I want. And our knee-jerk reaction is, well, this is what I would prefer. I think that we just live in a world of, especially in the West, of individualized, create your own world, live in your own reality. My truth is the right truth and your truth is fine for you, but it's not, not fine for me. That's not what I believe. So I think it's just the selfishness of humanity that's been reinforced over and over and over again by this self-love and self-care. We're surrounded by a wall of mirrors type world that we live in. And I just have to say too, I think the funniest part of the video for me is the dad being startled by the woman.
He's so shocked.
And like him shaking his hands like, oh my gosh, I wasn't.
He literally had a physical reaction. He had a physical reaction to how jarring that was. He was like, because he actually said in one of the interviews, he's like, I felt like a super dad getting a ball for my son. Like he was so excited about getting the ball. He's giving him a hug. Like he's in his mind not thinking at all about the people around him. He's just like, I did this for my son. This is great. He's going to be so thrilled. And then a Karen grabs his arm and just starts yelling at him. I just thought, and I don't know, the self-care, the self-love thing, I get what you're saying, but I think those ones seem to be more involved. They feel like they have a more peaceful connotation, that even though you're like the other one where, and when I say feminism and all that, that's just one of many. Like so many of these views push that everyone's wronging you, particularly men, right? White men are enemy number one in society. So this white man comes up and steals the ball from you in your mind because it was in your vicinity. And you think this is it. All these things I've been reading, I'm in the middle of it now and he got me and I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it. Because how would you react, Trey, if a ball was near you and even if it was in my hand and someone actually ripped it out? I think I would just be like, okay, enjoy your ball. I think I wouldn't go running after someone to try to get the ball back. It just seems crazy to me. Like, and I don't know. It just seems so entitled, so selfish, so inward looking. That's what I think is driving it.
I definitely wouldn't go running after it if for no other reason than self-preservation, right? I'm a risk-averse human being.
Right.
And I'm a thin guy, and I don't think that I would fare very well in many a fight. So I would probably just say, oh, whatever. But I would be irritated. I would be frustrated.
For sure.
And I might say a few things under my breath, but I would hope that I would be restrained enough to not run off like a crazy person like this woman did. So I do agree 100% with what you're saying, that I think that this is is selfishness. I just think that we are some of the commentaries are complicating it more than it needs to be. I think this is a gospel heart issue. This is sinful human beings, and then we find all kinds of excuses to it's the white man, it's his fault, it's that I'm a woman and
Right.
I've been oppressed,
For
it's that
sure.
I'm a minority and I've been oppressed. And I think that all of these things that you're talking about, Dan, 100% exist in our culture to reinforce our sinfulness, but that's what it's doing. It's just reinforcing sinfulness.
Yeah, it is. Well, we'll see where the saga of the Philly Karen ends up landing, and it just cracks
Hopefully
me up.
no
that-
other poor women are misidentified.
I know. It's weird to me that she has not been identified. She must have acted quickly and deleted everything online. But we'll see. And I hope, and listen, for the record, even though she was horrible in this particular moment, I don't think she should be fired from her job. We don't need to go hunting down people and make them lose their life because they did something dumb at one moment in their life. Like,
We all do
that's
something
also
dumb, it
not
just-
good. Yeah.
Not all of our dumb decisions have been caught on camera.
Right, exactly. Now, she has no excuse. She's at a Major League Baseball game where a home run just went. It's not like she's in secret, which wouldn't excuse it anyway. But yeah, she should be sorry for her actions, and that's what she should apologize for. But we don't need to cancel her. She can still have her job. All right, let's go over to the focus story now. And as we mentioned at the top there, the FTC took some action against Pornhub in Utah. What'd they do?
So they imposed a $5 million penalty on ALO, which was formerly named MindGeek. We've covered this in years past. It's the parent company for Pornhub. They issued a stipulated order requiring Pornhub to remove child sex abuse and non-consensual content, implement comprehensive prevention policies, which would include third-party review and annual certification systems that would verify that, okay, Pornhub has skin in the game, so they're going to be more lax, conventionally in how they verify and safeguard against sexually illicit and illegal content being put up. So this order says you have to have another company who is specifically there designed to verify consent and verify age. You need to have a third party do this. The judgment also included a $10 million payment to the Utah Division of Consumer Protection, but that $10 million amount could be suspended according to the ruling if Pornhub complies with all of the other stipulations imposed by the FTC in this latest order. So in a statement, the director for the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection said, Pornhub's operators turned a blind eye to the proliferation of videos depicting the sexual abuse of children on its sites so it could profit off its exploitation. He went on to say, under the order we're announcing today, Pornhub's operators will be required to take concrete steps to block this hateful content and ensure that those who appear in videos on their sites are consenting adults. So we should note too, Dan, that this is not from a Christian perspective. Obviously, as
Right.
Christians, we see pornography, whether it's child sexual abuse material or quote unquote consenting adults, as all evil and as all of it is a scourge on society. So because all of it reinforces sin and goes against a biblical view of sexuality and of human beings being image bearers. So setting that aside,
Right.
this is what the FTC is saying.
Exactly. So what has the response been to this action by the FTC?
So, of course, as I've just mentioned, several Christians have come out and said, this is a step in the right direction. We want to see pornography completely eliminated from the face of the earth, but certainly we want children to not be victimized by pornography. That's something that we should all be able to agree on. So this is something we've covered a lot, and Pornhub has no real age verification systems in place. So truly, it's pretty much impossible to verify consent and ages of those who are in pornography. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation, which is a company we've worked with a lot in reporting on this issue, they said the FTC ruling is, quote, a victory for all of us. They went on to say this FTC action represents more than just accountability for one company. It sends a powerful message to the entire porn industry that exploitation will not be tolerated, and it validates the experiences of every survivor who has been told their story does not matter.
So where is Pornhub currently blocked in the US?
So far, 17 states have passed age verification laws, and in response, Pornhub has blocked its own site from those states, which this is kind of a funny irony. The Pornhub has kind of done the state's work for them, but Pornhub views blocking the access to the site in those states as a form of, quote, protest against these laws. They're saying, fine, you want to put in age verification laws, we'll just pull the site completely from your state. And Pornhub argues that these age verification laws, are a violation of privacy rights. So the states so far that have banned, or that Pornhub has banned itself from, are Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Virginia. And there are a handful of other states that have pending age verification laws. So I assume that Pornhub will take similar action in those states once those laws have been passed and then signed by their respective governors.
Yeah, you wonder, there's an increasing movement now, Trey, on pornography that I've seen. And now I don't know if it'll get any momentum, but I've seen people saying we should just be banning porn. And the libertarians of the world, this is kind of where the disagreement comes with a lot of Christians and conservatives in the libertarian view, because then you're like, well, we should be able to do whatever we want, and prostitutes and everything else. Whereas, the Christians that are kind of promoting for a more aggressive Christian involvement in culture now, because essentially the argument is, okay, well, we have a secular worldview, which is a secular, essentially, religion that everyone's adhering to when we're applying laws from the government, which are essentially enforcing a societal morality on society. We're saying these are the things we're deeming to be moral and right and good and true, and those are what we need to uphold. And so you have a lot of Christians now saying, hey, like, this stuff is bad. Let's get rid of it. Let's ban it all together. And you can kind of see how when you're a Christian, you're like, yeah, I shouldn't really be rah-rahing something that says, you know what, you're free to go ahead and do pornography and prostitution. Go for it. I can see how those things don't add up in your mind, but I don't know that we'll ever get there as a society, Trey, but and that's the frustration when we see stories like this, because in my mind, I'm like, it would just be great if we could just ban it all, because there's no good solution. There's no, yay, we're getting consenting porn out of it, right? Like you were saying before, it's still sin. It's still all horrible. So, hopefully society just moves in a way where people don't want this anymore.
Yeah, it's still all sin. It's still all terrible. And truthfully, there is no way to verify. There is absolutely no real way to verify that the people who are making content, the pornographic content, whether you're watching it on Pornhub or you're watching it on a place like OnlyFans or whatever other websites might exist, you can never ensure 100% that the content was consensual, that the woman in the video was not drugged, that she's not being coerced, that she wasn't forced against her will to do something and act like she was interested in doing it. So that alone should make you uncomfortable, whether you're a Christian or not. I have no idea whether this person willfully chose to put themselves in this vulnerable of a position and be filmed doing whatever it is that they're doing. So that alone should make you uncomfortable. But as far as the libertarian argument, even Reason Magazine, which is a libertarian outlet, they even published an article earlier this week saying, now the federal government is going after our privacy rights under the banner of, we want to make the internet safer for children and against pornography. It's like, man, that is just a sad perspective, because if you look at every single, I'm pretty confident in saying this, every single metric and report on pornography, it bears not a single benefit in anybody's life. It increases the likelihood of people acting out sexually in violent ways. It is a scourge on your marriage. It harms the intimacy and the trust that you've established with your spouse. It lessens the likelihood of you getting a spouse, because people are satisfied with their own perverse sexual desires. So anyway, we could go on and on. There's a laundry list of negative things that come from pornography, and not a single good thing that comes from it.
And it makes you view people as meat, essentially, right? It's just as a sex object to be used and abused for your own selfish pleasures. And that is exactly the opposite of how God created us and intended us to engage in sexual activity. Obviously, a married man and a married woman are how God designed it, and anything outside of that is sexual sin, and we should be avoiding it. So certainly we can be praying that somehow God works a miracle in the hearts and minds of culture at large that gets us to a place to where people are demanding that we just end pornography and no more of this yay sex workers and yay freedoms. You know, let people do whatever they want. Consenting adults, yay. It would be nice if people actually, because government would ban it. If there was an outcry and an overwhelming majority of people didn't want this anymore, even if they were tempted by it, they just said, look, we need to outlaw this and get it out of here. They would do it if it was popular. And so unfortunately, it's just not popular enough, you know, right now. But appreciate you bringing this update to the podcast today. Well, Israel struck Hamas in Qatar. This was an unprecedented move. And just previous to that, President Trump had issued a pretty stark warning and ultimatum to Hamas, which is quite interesting given the events that unfolded here in the last 48 hours. Details on that coming up in 30 seconds.
My papa says the Messiah isn't real. He's just a story.
So what do you believe?
From the Salvation Poem Project comes Light of the World.
I really liked that movie.
You're really going to want your fam to see this. It's Jesus' life so clear and so fun.
I want to see it again.
See the hand-drawn animated film everyone's talking about.
He's the king of all kings.
He's nothing.
He is the light of the world.
Light of the World. Now playing in theaters. Rated PG.
For today's main thing, Gordon Robertson sat down with our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, to break down President Trump's ultimatum to Hamas, which, as I said, is certainly interesting and eye-opening given what happened yesterday in Qatar. That's today's main thing.
Well, Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, Netanyahu wants Israel to end the war quickly. I think we all want the war to be over. How long does Israel believe it will take to finish the job?
Well, Gordon, it may take weeks, and maybe even take a few months. They want to be methodical, the IDF. Two reasons for that. They want to minimize IDF casualties because Hamas has set up ambushes using their labyrinth of terror tunnels in Gaza City. They also want to minimize civilian casualties. That's why they're asking people to evacuate Gaza City, and they're setting up humanitarian zones down south. They plan, like we said in our report, to take out Hamas's advantages, like those high-rise towers that Hamas is using as military headquarters. But as it goes into Gaza City, Israel's also facing international pressure and growing for a Palestinian state. And Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar addressed that today after this terror attack, and he said the terrorists this morning came from the PA territories, and so the establishment of such a terror state would have one goal: the elimination of the state of Israel.
Well, I've got to ask, how did the terrorists in this morning's attack, how did they get the weapons? I thought Israel had all of that clamped down. It seems amazing that they were able to get that and get that on a bus.
Yeah, well, as Prime Minister Netanyahu said, they've literally thwarted hundreds of terror attacks from Judea and Samaria. Unfortunately, this one got through. Sometimes these are homemade weapons. The one they had today was called a Carlo, and it's like a automatic little machine gun. And unfortunately, they had probably a couple of minutes to be inside that bus and literally kill 7 now that we've just found out, and injure maybe about 20. So it's a very tough job for the IDF and the Israeli police to thwart all of these attacks. Unfortunately, this one got through.
Let's talk about the President Trump and his ultimatum. Hamas responding back that they'll release all the hostages on a condition that Israel completely withdraw from Gaza. Isn't that just a non-starter? Do you ever see Israel withdrawing from Gaza in any kind of near-term scenario?
Those two conditions, I think, are non-starters for Israel, Gordon. You know, the end of the war, a permanent end of the war, and the withdrawal of the IDF forces from all of Gaza. That leaves Hamas in power. And one of the three goals of the war at the very beginning has been that Hamas would be defeated and they could not be allowed to govern Gaza. So it seems like those two are non-starters for Israel.
Well, one of the goals of the war was clearly a propaganda war. The propaganda machine literally started up within hours of the attack on October 7th. So Israel just took out the chief propaganda operative for Hamas. How important was that? Is there anyone else that is going to fill that role within Hamas?
Well, his name was Abu Obaideh, not a household name, but he was one of the most significant members of Hamas. And for 20 years, he was the mastermind behind Hamas's propaganda machine. He built a propaganda army, believe it or not, Gordon, 1,500 operatives. And Hamas knows it can't defeat Israel on the battlefield. So that's why they invest so heavily in propaganda. He was the one that produced the hostage videos. They were designed to influence Israeli public opinion. He also developed the Famine in Gaza campaign, the Gaza is Starving campaign, and the goal for all this was to generate heart-wrenching propaganda to move the nations of the world against Israel, force Israel to prematurely end the war and leave Hamas in power. We interviewed Gil Hoffman just yesterday of Honest Reporting, and he told us he hopes the international media would snap out of the trance that Abu Obaideh put them in. I don't know if there's anyone of his caliber they could take over, but they'll certainly try, Gordon.
Well, it seems to be amazing to me that, publications, major publications, have totally bought into the Hamas propaganda line and have from the very beginning. And even when it's shown to be a lie, they don't back off of it. They just seem to continue the line. One of the charges, and I think it's the most significant, is that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. How is Israel responding to that in the propaganda war?
Well, they call him false, outrageous. Netanyahu said recently at a statement I was at, if Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could have done it on October 8th. Ambassador Mike Huckabee weighed in. He says if Israel's committing genocide, they're really bad at it. Last week, there was a charge by what's called the International Association of Genocide Scholars. They said that Israel is committing genocide. But actually this week, 170 professionals in the fields of genocide and international law demanded they rescind that resolution. However, the propaganda value is already gone out there against Israel. And what Israel's doing to prevent genocide, they're providing humanitarian aid. And we got a comment from John Spencer. He said, there's no historical precedent for a military providing the level of direct aid to an enemy population that Israel has provided to Gaza. They do that on a daily basis, Gordon. And let me just add, we reached out to Itamar Marcus of the Palestinian Media Watch about this terror attack. He said just 2 weeks ago, there was an official PA sermon on TV, and this is what it said. Allah, count them one by one, kill them one by one, and don't leave even one. And Marcus sees a direct link from that incitement to today's terror attack.
Well, they've been preaching that for some time, and I wish the news media, the English news media in particular, would wake up to it. This is an ideological war, and it has been going on since 1948. On those genocidal scholars, the real facts on the ground is anyone can join that group. You don't have to be a scholar, and you don't have to be an expert on genocide. It's a made-up name, and anyone can join. And so when they vote that it's in our opinion that it's a genocide, there's no scholarly backing to it at all. It's just, again, part of the whole propaganda machine, much like the Gaza Ministry of Health. It's just a propaganda arm of Hamas. It's not any kind of real health agency for the area. It's incredible that we continue to buy into the lie and just repeat it and report it as if somehow there's a fact behind it. It's all made up. It's absolutely incredible. Well, Chris, thanks for the insight, and thanks for the reporting from Jerusalem.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right, Gordon, Chris, thanks so much for that information. Appreciate that. And that's going to leave us with time on the podcast today for one last thing.
So on this Wednesday, I figured a little bit of wisdom from Proverbs would be good. We're looking at Proverbs 11:24. It says, if you search for good, you will find favor. But if you search for evil, it will find you.
I mean, given what we were just talking about with Pornhub and it being out there, it being pornography, being out there, and a lot of people are continue to find it, unfortunately, and we need to be praying that hearts and minds are changed across the culture, that we can rid our society of that scourge. All right, get yourself on over to cbnnews.com, faithwire.com for more news from a Christian perspective. Lord willing, that creek don't rise up on us. We'll be back tomorrow with more. God bless. See you then.